like I said earlier, I am a regional sales leader with our masonry products business. My team and I are accountable for about 40% of the revenue of our masonry products business. We're accountable for our largest customers. We're accountable for our biggest growth opportunities. So we've seen a lot of success in using the Winning with Customers methodology to make sure that our organization is aligned internally with the growth initiatives that we need to invest in and then deliver to the market, and then also provide a vehicle for us to communicate to those customers as to what we're working on. To get where we are today, in that 3-year journey that we were talking about, really starts with my time as the head of our corporate marketing function and that $100 million of marketing investment that I was accountable for. And what I saw is that we were measuring a lot of the marketing investments we were making, as most organizations do, but where we struggled with, as Bob was alluding to, was, are we even investing in the right things to begin with? Are we investing in things our customers value? And that's a kind of a micro conversation, right? Because you're still just talking about $100 million. The way we elevated the conversation was internally, how do we spread that across all $6 billion in revenue? How do we make an impact by working with our customers across the entire enterprise? So we set out to change the conversation, and what you see here is how we changed the conversation. And this is a conversation changer on 2 different dimensions. One, externally with the customer. And I think that comes through loud and clear. I mean, these are questions that we ask the customer. But the other axis is how we change the conversation internally. Now, I could talk about this slide for probably 4 or 5 hours, right? So we're going to try to hit some of the highlights here and save some time at the end for some follow-up questions. But at its essence, what we did is we sat down with our customers and looked them in the eye, and we said, how do we make you more money than our competition, right? Now, you may have a couple of different reactions to that question. One might be, well, gosh, that's a little uncomfortable. Is your customer really going to tell you how he makes more money with your product versus his competition? Isn't he going to play that close to the vest and try not to give away some of his secrets? Because if he says, yeah, you make me a lot more money, then his response is that he's expecting from you is, great, then here's your price increase, right? So you got to create a safe space for that, first and foremost. Or your second reaction might be, what, so what? I'm having those conversations all the time with my customers. My customers and I have a real open relationship and a strong communication. We talk about this stuff all the time, right? So the magic in this is not just the question, but it's the rigor and discipline with which you dig into the answer. And it's about the quantification in the math. So if your customer says, yeah, I make more money doing business with you. Okay, great. Where? How? What are you doing? What am I doing that's giving you the ability to make more money with my products than with my competitors' products? Let's put some pen to paper. How much more profitable are you because of those investments that we're making? A customer will say, great, you know what? Your marketing is top-notch, best in the industry, helps me sell more product. I'm more profitable because of your marketing. Great. How much more profitable are you? How about my sales team, right? How about my supply chain? These are the things that you do for me that make me more profitable. And this is how much more profitable you make me, right? So it rolls up to how much money do we make you relative to our competitors? That's an uncomfortable question too, right? Because the answer could be an answer you don't want to hear. And we've done this with over 500 customers, and sometimes it's an answer we don't want to hear. Sometimes it's negative. Actually, it costs me money to do business with you. Sometimes it's zero, right? Which means we're just like everyone else. We're a commodity. But a lot of times it's positive. I mean, there's a reason why we do business together, right? There's a reason why it's positive. So this gives us not just a survey, but a snapshot in time of what are the investments we're making today that provide and create value for our customers that translates into the ability for them to make more money by doing business with us than with our competition. Now, this is also part of the conversation changer internally, because when different functional groups see their names on this chart here, they start to pay attention, right? They start to say, okay, I have I'm actually creating value for the customer, or I'm not up on that chart. What's the deal? Yep. I mean, there's a lot that comes into this slide. But where it gets even more fun is when you start talking about where we can go in the future. So our third question is, how should we spend our next $1 million to make you more money? So in other words, what should we go invest in to create more value for you? In this illustration, we're talking about putting some additional sales resources into this customer. We're talking about doing some different things in supply. This is the response that the customer is giving us. And then the question, of course, the last question is, how would that $1 million investment impact your bottom line? Like, what's it worth to you? And this hits to the internal change conversation as well, because you might be thinking, well, gosh, we're talking about this stuff. But the question and the question we faced was, is our organization doing something about it? Are we investing in the feedback we get from our customers? And the answer is sometimes was sure, and sometimes it was, well, not really. And a lot of the investments that we were making were driven by the personalities, the strength of our national account manager coming back and saying, this customer is demanding we do this. Well, that might be something we do. But some of the more subtle feedback we're getting may not have hit the radar screen. What this allows us to do is really quantify and create a picture of the investments we need to make in our customers' business to create more value for them. Now, there's a lot of nuances here. There's some risk, right? Because by having this conversation with the customers, it sets up an expectation that we're going to go do these things. So we've got to make it clear that our commitment to you, Mr. Customer, is that we're going to follow up. And that was really where the rubber hits the road. When we came back to our customers and we say, hey, this is what you said, and this is what we're doing about it, that's where they start to fall out of your chair. Holy smokes, you guys are actively listening to the conversations that we're having. So this is our quantitative snapshot. It's not a survey. It's a robust conversation. It's a 90-minute discussion around how we create value for our customers.